challenges the hospitality industry is facing. We'll talk about three of them right now. The first is an obvious one. It's the COVID-19 crisis that has occurred throughout 2020. It's keeping people at home, and it's reduced the amount of travel dramatically. Back in the March, April timeframe, the occupancy rates of hotels around the world were somewhere in the 60s, which is a good and normal occupancy rate. They dropped as low as 5 or 6% at one point globally, which is just crushing for the industry. So it didn't even matter incentives, how pretty or nice the hotel was, everything stopped. So when everything stops and you can't get people to your hotels and you can't get people to stay in your hotels, the hospitality industry suffers dramatically. So that's the first piece that really challenged the hospitality industry here in 2020. The second piece that is really important to talk about is the fact that this is an election year, and you have two diametrically opposed candidates, one that wants to open everything up and seems to want to open up everything as quickly as possible, and one that wants everything to stay the same for right now, or potentially even closing some things down again. So with such a difference in those two types of approaches, there's confusion everywhere. There's confusion on the data. There's confusion on what's right, what's not right, where to wear, when and where to wear a mask. It gets very, very confusing. So when people are confused, they stay pat. And that's what you're having to see happen right now is people are staying where they are. People are finding alternate ways to enjoy themselves and enjoy their families as opposed to traveling and staying in hotels. That's the second piece. The third piece that we come to is often overlooked, but the civil unrest that is existing in the United States right now is definitely affecting how people approach travel. If you think about where people would mostly travel, a lot of it centers around metropolitan areas or areas that would be deemed as fun, and a lot of these areas are directly affected right now by some of the civil unrest. And so that it puts fear into people, and when people are afraid, they don't travel, especially with families, they don't travel. So those three areas have really created a perfect storm, if you will, for the hospitality industry this year, and has caused a significant damper on any ability to grow that back in 2020. Well, we'll talk about four ways right now. Those four key things are in messaging, checking in, checking out, and connecting with staff. So let's talk first about messaging. Hotels and hospitality companies want to be able to connect with the consumer all the time. They want to be connecting with them when they're thinking about traveling, when they've decided to travel, when they're deciding on a hotel, when they're deciding when to arrive, when they're deciding to leave. All of that needs to come in a very unified, simple way that attracts people to them. So messaging is critical, and that's something that I know companies are working on right now. The other piece to it is the check-in process. The hospitality industry wants to get you now pre-check-in so that you are contactless from the point that you're getting there to the hotel all the way through the check-in process. So those shared and communal areas that you would typically find yourself maybe sitting in a hotel lobby, standing in line at a check-in desk aren't happening. And so if they can prevent that, that helps everybody feel a little bit more secure. And that's so, so important. The third piece to that is checking out, which people want to do even faster than they checked in. And in times gone by, you'd go up to the front desk, you'd hand them a piece of paper, you'd hand them the key. That's obviously isn't, people don't want to do that now. People want to get in and get out as quickly as possible. So how can we use technology to do that and make it very seamless for people so that they've really gone through the entire process with minimal contact to no contact? And then the fourth and final piece that I think is important is how does the hospitality industry contact its internal customer, its employees? Because it's just important to keep in touch with them and make sure they know what they're doing. And from a timeliness perspective, who is doing what, when, how is cleaning getting done, where are problem areas, where is everything good? These are the things that the hospitality industry wants their consumers, internal and external, to feel good about. And with so many people even being fearful of being on the job these days with these types of problems out there, it's important to make them feel comfortable too. So those four things are really in areas where digital can help the hospitality industry today. So how do we know when the hospitality industry is going to start improving again? Well, you're going to look at KPIs, right? And three of the KPIs that we want to take a look at. The first one, and probably the most important one internal to the hotel industry, is RevPAR. So obviously that's revenue per available room. And what you're looking at there is how much are you charging for the room, how often is it being occupied, and for what period of time is it being occupied. So those are the three pieces to RevPAR that you're looking at. And what it ultimately tells you is the health of your hotel. It tells you whether your hotel is being occupied at premium levels in the peak seasons and off seasons, and whether you can start looking at charging more for your hotel rooms, or if by charging less for your hotel rooms, you may attract a wider audience and create better occupancy. So RevPAR is a really important internal factor, and a lot of the business within the hospitality industry will look at that. The second piece that people are going to look at is the consumer satisfaction index, and that's exactly what you might expect it to be. It's, were your consumers happy when they went to that hotel? Did they enjoy the experience? Were there certain parts better than others? And depending upon how you're set up internally, and you can slice and dice that data, you may be able to come up with various factors within that consumer index that are very telling for you to understand, what does my hotel look like, and where is the direction that I want my hotel and my hotel company to go in. Then the third piece, and this is, how it's traditionally been done. If you look at Wall Street, what's most important is EBITDA. And that is still a factor when you look at stocks, when you look at publicly traded companies, still an important piece to how we determine the health of an organization. So EBITDA, while I'm mentioning it third here, is certainly not the least important thing that companies look at. But internally, we're looking at the consumer index, we're looking at RevPAR, and then externally, a lot are looking at EBITDA. So I'd say those are the three things that you want to keep in mind when we're looking at KPIs throughout the hospitality industry. How do we take the information that we've just talked about and move it into actionable items? Well, you do that with partners. You do that with people that have been there and done that and know what they're doing. But how do you select a partner? How do you know what the right partner is for your hotel, for your hotel company, for your hospitality company? How do you know what you're getting into? And there are a couple of key factors that you want to think about when you're looking at partners. The first thing is, do they know my business? Do they understand what my business does, what the drivers are, and how my business needs to move? And what are the systems, and what are the systems that I could have that are going to help me move through this seamlessly? Because the faster I get information, the faster I can react, the better my hotel company will be. So that's one. The second piece to it is, not only does my partner understand the business, but are they willing to work within my organization creatively? Or am I going to have to be a cookie cutter approach, and they're going to make me adopt their methodology? It's very important that if you have a culture environment and you have a methodology, that things move through that methodology very, very well. If you're forced to adopt somebody else's methodology, then are they really being a partner, or are they simply making you fit into what their idea of this engagement would be, or their idea of success would be? You want to make sure that that partner has that flexibility and creativity to be able to work directly with you and within the way you've built and imagined your organization. The third thing that you want to really think about here is, do they have the ability to show you that they've implemented these solutions within the industry you're looking at. Can they say that they've done that? A lot of organizations right now, we mentioned the check-in, check-out. They've gone with product companies, or they've gone with companies that seem to have what they're looking for, but it's not tested. It's not really well thought out. They don't know necessarily the systems that they have to play with yet. And so a lot of these things that people thought they were going to be able to step into have fallen short. Some have done very well, and those that have done very well are proven in the industry and proven in what they can do. So you want to think about that is, does this organization have services or products that have been proven that they can show success with? So those three things: proven and showing success, the environment and creativity around being able to work with you, and third is, do they understand your business? If you have those three things in a partner, I think you'll be setting yourself up very well to move through your digital journey and be able to survive and thrive as COVID-19 fades, as other problems and challenges phase, and you'll be ready for the next set of problems and challenges.